First things first, Nick Wright joining us live. Anything jump out to you? Let's start with that. Anything jump out to you?
Yeah. I mean, the Ravens a touch high, and I'd like to talk about this for a moment because I understand the Ravens, media cycle. It goes like this. If they win, it is a Lamar Jackson MVP love fest, and when they lose, it's a why'd they give Lamar the ball so much and not Derrick Henry? I'm used to that, so that doesn't surprise me. What did surprise me, and my feelings are not hurt easily, but was from my dear friend, once mentor Colin Cowherd, who, listen, I've gotten over the fact you don't call me as much as you used to. You call Danny Parkins instead. That's fine. Life's changed. Yeah. But when I see a subtweet directed right at my heart, and you don't even have the courage to tag me in it, this feels like a big game, right? So does this count for Lamar Jackson? Just trying to keep track. No one has... Listen, Lamar wins 80% of his football games. Yeah. A lot of those are big games. Yeah. The only he wins 4 out of 5 games he plays, except for, of course, in the playoffs against the Chiefs or against his divisional rival. Those games he wins 1 out of 4. That's the only but. And we can play patsy with this idea that it's unfair to hold him to a standard that no one had a problem holding Peyton Manning to for a decade of his career. Yeah. And I do think one day he'll get over the hump. Yes. But I was not surprised, and I don't think you were surprised, that the Ravens looked unbelievable in a spot they typically look unbelievable in. He's not, this is the one thing in all seriousness I want to clarify. Nobody serious is arguing Lamar can't beat good teams. That's the argument against Tua. Nobody is arguing that Lamar wilts under the bright lights of Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football. That's the argument against Kirk Cousins. It's a very specific point, which is the very biggest spots he does not seem to play his best, which is why they went out and got Derrick Henry, so hopefully he won't have to. Yeah. I still think, with all that said, 5 is a little high for a team whose pass defense I don't trust at all. Yeah. But just tag me in the tweet, Colin. I mean, we've known each other for a decade. It's a little harsh.
It was kind of Aaron Rodgers passive aggressive. I got to admit, it was.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't like you. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, is this a fake account? Is Colin on Blue Sky now? What is it? But it was you. No, it was you.
Threads and Blue Sky. Couldn't find him if I wanted to. Yeah. I said this earlier. I think the Niners think they have a solution at quarterback. I think they have a dilemma. Is that I think Brock Purdy is a less talented version of Tua. And I think Miami knows we got to play playoff games at home. We don't want to go north. And I think I watched Brock Purdy in rain in Cleveland, and they had ball security issues. And now he's got a mysterious injury. And they had MRIs, and nobody knows it. I said this yesterday, and apparently it was met with outrage. I said, folks, if you're 5-7 in your last 12, it'll be 5-8 out of your last 13 when you lose to Buffalo. It's time for a reboot. You can't beat Kansas City. Shanahan's 0 for 5 with 4 blowout losses. It's time for a reboot. Am I crazy, or does that make sense to you?
Well, I mean, I guess I would need to define reboot. Like, I certainly would not move off Shanahan.
No,
and I don't think that's what you're talking about.
No, not that at all.
I think he's a great coach.
Yes.
But here is what I would, the Niners, I think smartly, put a lot of eggs in the last couple years' basket when it comes to their salary cap and an aging roster, which, listen, they were the favorites in the Super Bowl and had a lead in overtime of the Super Bowl 9 months ago. So I don't blame them for being like, we can win right now. I don't think it was a mistake. However, now with Trent Williams, every year he doesn't retire is a bonus. Kittle is still excellent, but I know Kelsey makes us think that tight ends are supposed to be good into their 30s. That's not the history of the position. You don't know what version of Ayuk you're going to get post-ACL, and Debo, oddly, looks to be in a different spot at least this season.
Yeah.
And Christian McCaffrey, is it just the injuries? Is it the age? Is it both? So they do have some real questions moving forward. So I think that is all totally legitimate and correct. What I would not be comfortable doing if I'm San Francisco is paying Brock Purdy this offseason if this season continues in the direction it's been going. I would definitely want, because what we got was last year Purdy played at this level with all these stars playing at a super high level. This year, not quite as many stars, and the ones who are there not playing at quite the same level. And he looks,
ordinary,
a lot more Jimmy Garoppolo-ish than, and more mobility, obviously, than Jimmy, but that level of production. So I would just want another year of data before I made him a $60 million a year man. So I wouldn't tear the thing down to the studs, but they're already probably going to lose Hufanga, who's been out with an injury. They're probably going to lose Charvarius Ward. They're probably going to lose Dre Greenlaw, who's just now coming back. People assume they're going to trade Debo because they drafted Pearsall and signed Ayuk. They have some real decisions to make, and I would want another year of evidence before I committed to paying Brock Purdy, at near the top of the market, which is what you would have to do if you paid him this offseason.
So I said Babe Ruth, Red Sox, Yankees. Probably not the same, but Saquon Giants to the Eagles was so predictable because the Giants have a bad O-line and the Eagles have a great one. And the Giants had a bad quarterback and the Eagles have a very good one. And the Giants didn't have a star receiver to take some heat off the running back, and the Eagles have two of them. To me, the Saquon to the Eagles thing leaves such a stink, such a smell. I mean, it's hard to overcome really bad transactions. I joked. I said, could you imagine the Chiefs saying, listen, we really like Mahomes, but not that much. We're going to let him go to Denver with Sean Payton. What? Now, it's not that because he's a running back. But when I watch Saquon Barkley, is this the worst move in league history? I think it's in the running. Is it not?
Well, so a lot to unpack there. You brought up Mahomes. Like, could you imagine being a quarterback-needy team, like say you have, Tyrod Taylor as your quarterback, haven't had a quarterback in 30 years, and you trade the pick that becomes Patrick Mahomes? Oh, wait, that's exactly what Buffalo did. We already had the Babe Ruth trade in football. It was the Bills trading the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, and all he's done is end their season 3 of the last 4 years. So that take is taken by me. The Babe Ruth trade exists in the NFL. However, to your actual point here, first, I have to raise my hand and say I got the Saquon thing totally wrong. In the offseason, I said I don't understand. Philly was already a great running team. I said Philly already offense wasn't the issue. Paying top of the market for an aging running back who had been injured, who I thought the best football I ever saw him play was at Penn State and his first year in the league, I thought was a mistake. Those were all my takes, and I was dead wrong. He has been transcendent, and it honestly makes you question, we knew things were bad in New York, but were they actually worse than we thought? Because for a few years, this guy looked good. Not great, not historic, just good. And now instantly, he is putting up a season that goes toe-to-toe through a dozen games with Jim Brown and Walter Payton's best years.
Yes.
He's on pace to break the rushing record and the yards from scrimmage record. He could break a 12-year drought of running backs not winning league MVP and it being a quarterback-only award. And so he has changed my feeling on Philly entirely. I still don't trust their coach, and I probably don't like Jalen Hurts as much as you do. But A.J. Brown plus Devontae Smith when he's healthy, plus this running back, those two tackles, and Fangio remaking that defense on the fly with some savvy draft picks and additions, they, to me, look like the scariest team in the NFC.
Yeah.
And so it was a great move by them. And it also makes me wonder, will any team ever want to do Hard Knocks again? Because that clip will live forever. And can I say one more thing about Philly that I think America hasn't fully thought about? Here's why I think Philly is such an attractive bet to win the NFC. Their they might get the 1 seed, they might not. But their floor, Colin, is the 2 seed.
Yeah.
They're worried because Washington is falling apart.
Yep.
NFC West, NFC South is not going to get a good enough record. Detroit, as great as they've been, they are 1 2-game losing streak away from being the 5 seed because Minnesota's on their tail. They play Minnesota in Week 18. The division could come down to that. So Detroit's been the best, but Detroit's probably the 1. But if Detroit isn't the 1, it's likely because Minnesota caught them, and now they're the 5. And now Goff is on the road the whole playoffs. They're not indoors, all of that. Philly is, kind of safe and secure. Worst case scenario, they're the 2. So just because the NFC North has been so good and Minnesota's, kept winning, Detroit's placement in the playoff picture is a little more precarious than I think people realize.
I want to end with this. I was going to do Bo Nix, but you're good on Aaron Rodgers. I was talking to a former NFL great coach recently, and he said, Aaron wasn't very good as last year in Green Bay, which you and I have noted. You're the Jets tomorrow. You're the GM. What do you do with Aaron?
Yeah.
What do you do with him?
Well, I'm the GM of the Jets. I'm like, why doesn't my key card work? And it's like, oh, they fired me. But if I'm the interim, to me, it's a no-brainer. If he wants to finish the season, so be it. He can't be on the team next year. And we talked about this a few weeks ago. Listen, I believe Diana Rossini's reporting unequivocally. And I believe that there is a chance he goes on IR, that the organization has soured on him. I am much more skeptical of the reporting of Aaron heroically is refusing MRIs. He's so injured, but he doesn't want anyone to know it. That feels like very pro-Aaron spin from a guy who's very good at media manipulation. But, Colin, if you actually go pencil to paper and say, all right, what teams are definitively in the quarterback market next year, aren't going to be drafting one, and would be interested in getting in the Aaron Rodgers business, I have a really hard time finding one. So I think we are likely in a position where the Jets move on from him and nobody picks him up to start the year. Now, if next season there is a mid-year quarterback injury to a contending team, I think that's how he could get back in the league. But I don't know what franchise could say, hey, the Aaron Rodgers experience at age 41, turning 42, when he hasn't played excellent football since the 2021 season is worthwhile.
Yeah.
So and last point on this, Colin, take the 10 greatest quarterbacks ever. None of them, except for, I guess, Johnny Unitas, had this type of ending.
Yeah.
Montana went to an AFC title game in Kansas City. Favre went to one in Minnesota. Obviously, Manning had great success in Denver. Tom had amazing success in Tampa. They all made the playoffs throughout. You can go up and down the list. There's never been a legendary top 10 all-time great quarterback that spent the final 3 years of his career out in the wilderness. Yeah. And that is what Aaron Rodgers is rapidly approaching.
Well, I'll tag you the next time I send an aggressive.
Yeah, tag me. Don't subtweet me. Yeah, exactly. Just be like, hey, Nick, your Lamar Jackson opinion sucks. And I'll just save it. And then come around January 15th when the Ravens score 10 points and they get blown out, I'm going to be like, well, maybe better luck next year. That's all I want.
Blue Sky sounds like some private aviation company. I got to check that out. I don't even know what that is.
I assume you have equity in it. Yeah, if it is, that's what I would guess. See you, buddy.
Nick Wright, first things first. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.